What up, y'all? Welcome back to the J-Rock Show here from the SimWorld TV studios. Happy Friday. Happy August at that. It's August 1st, and it's good to be back on this Friday. I was supposed to have Jackson Sutton on this episode, but we were having some tech issues with him calling in from Starkville, so that's not going to happen. That's going to be next week now. My apologies to all of you for the inconvenience. And him and Kenyon Young are currently the plan to be my next two guests on the show. So let me know what you think I should ask them. I'm excited to talk to both of them. Got to iron out the tech issues with Jackson's audio. And then we'll be right back on track, ladies and gentlemen. But for this solo episode, I can't think of a good a time as any to give my conference champion predictions for each of the 8 conferences in SimWorld U. I'm going to do deep dives in every single conference in their own separate episode, but this is going to be kind of a quick hit. I'm going to look at every conference and say, this is who I think is going to be the contenders, this is who I think the pretenders are going to be, and this is who I think could surprise some people. So, for starters, let's begin in the ACC. We have a lot of good teams here. I think Virginia Tech takes a serious step back without Travion Novick. Newly Cox is solid, but they don't have a true alpha dog there anymore, and they didn't really do that great on the recruiting trail. I think that the Hokies were a one-year wonder, or kind of two, because they won 21 games 2 years ago. But my winner pick in the ACC has to be North Carolina. Kasim Porter Jr. at the point, Marco Jacobs, Trevon Patrick, Sean Hyman, Kadarius Stack Jr. This team is loaded. You lose Bam Wallace, you replace him so well. Hubert Davis did a fantastic job on the recruiting trail. You still have Miles James, and you have a really strong squad down in Chapel Hill. I think Duke will always have a solid year. You got no flag, but you got Vic, you got Ivanov, you got Pablo Guzman, you have a solid team for the Blue Devils. I don't think Duke's going to be bad by any means. You have Roderick Little coming back. You have Scoochie Nelson. You have Adilson Sampaio, who I think is going to step into a big role this year. This Duke team is bringing in a couple freshmen, but I think that they don't have a legitimate game-breaking piece. I think this might be another round of 32 exit for John Shire's group in Hoosteria. I think we're going to see some real questions becoming about his future with the Blue Devils. So I'm not really in on them like everybody else. I'm in on UNC, and like I said, they're deep. They have a lot of ways they can attack you. They're well coached. They are a very good offensive squad. They're a good shooting team. They were 8th in SimWorld U last year in 3-point percentage. Now you bring in Marco Jacobs, a legitimate microwave of a player. You still have Kamarion Bracken. You still have Kasim to be that floor general next to Marco. You got Trevon Patrick. This is a really strong squad that no one's talking about. And Kadarius Stack Jr. had 7 rebounds and nearly 2 blocks a game as a freshman. He's kind of nice. 6'11", 221 from in-state. But I think my top 3 in this conference are North Carolina, Louisville with Dink Payton, Kadarius Loftus, and DeMarco Graham. Love that squad. Still got Mikhail Jolly-Harper and Amaro Isbell. Pat Kelsey, great coach. And this third spot, I'm between Duke and Miami because Kevon Jackson's back. He's healthy. And you got Tony Henderson and Richard Hennessy on the interior. And you still got Jeremiah Cordero and Cristobal Hogarth. Miami's deep, but it's Duke. So I'm going to say UNC finishes first, Louisville finishes second, Miami finishes third, or Duke finishes third, and Miami finishes fourth. And my surprise team in the ACC is the team that won 0 games last year. The Syracuse Orange. They completely overhauled things with Assad Drayton. Even with even with Abdul Salamanca, I believe is out for the season. Even with Abdul Salamanca out for the season, then like you still got LaJordan Tompkins. You still not Quan Singleton, Ethan Letterman and Mark Chisholm. You still have John Hudgens. You still have a really strong team for Assad Drayton, and I think they're going to surprise people this year. I'm going to say they make it to Hoopsteria, and I feel incredibly confident in that fact. So Syracuse is my dark horse in the ACC. Moving on to the American Conference, even with Barkley James injured, I still think SMU is the team to beat in this conference. You have McAllen Duval, you have Cam Jones, you have Maury Washington, all back from that quad run, and you bring in Kenyon Young, and I just like Rob Lanier. I think this is a team that they're the team to beat, and I think right behind them is you have Memphis with Lace Darius Outlaw back, and you have Jackson State with D. Woodley, Jay Midoriya, Richard Alpine, and Renzo Bryant. I think those are the three best teams in the conference, but I think Temple takes a step in the right direction with Deuce Turner and Angelo Roman, and I think we're going to see Davidson take a step in the right direction with Benari James. I think he's going to start lighting SimWorld U on fire this year. I think Princeton, even with Bruno John Misty coming back, they're going to finish at the bottom of this conference. I don't think they're a threat at all. So, American Conference, SMU, Memphis, Jackson State, Davidson, top four. Moving on to the Big 12, and I think there's two teams that stand head and shoulders above the rest, and then there's a third or even a fourth where I think that they're the next best. So I'm going to say my winner in the Big 12 are the Kansas Jayhawks. Naz Hall, just an absolute stud. Not much else you really need to say there. And Shamar Davis, I like that pickup for them. And even losing Pinkard, I think they'll be fine. Even with losing Madison Miles, I think they'll be fine. But Texas finishes second in the conference. They got a chip on their shoulder after that first round loss in Hoopsteria. Magic's back. Lattimore's back. They lost to Monte Claudio. But Texas still has their foundation in place, and they brought in Matthew Mozgov. So I'm staying in on the Longhorns for the time being. Third in the conference are the Texas Tech Red Raiders, in my eyes. You bring back Tyrell Thompson, and then you bring in DJ Amir, Jordan Belmont, and Cyrus Jackson. That's two McDonald's All-Americans right there. Grant McCasland is sitting pretty, my friends. So that's Team 3. And Team 4 is the Oklahoma Sooners. Suno Chapa's back. You have Carson Cutbirth. You have Terrell Coleman. You lost Miguez and Floyd Henderson. But you still have Breck Backer, Terrell Coleman, and just a lot more help for Suno Chapa, like a more cohesive unit for Porter Moser in what still will be a make-or-break season. I think that's the top 4, and I don't see a real dark horse in this conference. There's no one else that really impresses me other than maybe Baylor, because I think Red Joyner is going to have a big sophomore campaign. So, other than that, not that in on the Big 12. Big East. Number 1 team, Villanova. Justin Bell's back. Heron Lovejoy is back. That's all that needs to be said. Villanova. They're not going to lose 3 to Georgetown this year. Jay Laster's hurt. Second, we got UConn. Fareed Redmond's back. Norman Nations is back. And they upset Kansas in the first round of Hoopsteria last year. So I like this UConn squad. I thought they were really disappointing last year. Expectations are a little bit lower, but Dan Hurley's a good coach. He'll right the ship. Third, I like St. John's. Che King is back. Keyshawn Shipp isn't, but St. John's is good enough with him alone to make noise. And in fourth, I know Xavier made the national championship. Think they're gonna kind of come back down to earth. That was kind of fool's gold. I'm going to go Georgetown. Even with no Jay Laster, I like Ed Cooley as a head coach. And I think that there's a lot being built in our nation's capital that I like. I like JoJo Kearney. I like Keith Singleton. I like Arlo Cook, who's coming in. So I think Georgetown, even with no Jay Laster this season, I think they'll be okay. And you're still bringing back a guy in Brandon Smith who averaged 11 a game. So Villanova, UConn, St. John's, Georgetown, top four. Not in on Butler anymore. Big Ten. This is an interesting conference. I'll say this conference is not very exciting, but there's one team that does excite me, and that's Illinois. They're going to win this conference. You have D'Angelo Jordan. You got Zay Gore. You got Kyrie Holtzclaw. D'Angelo Jordan's a star. He's going to win Big Ten Player of the Year. I think he's going to win Naismith Player of the Year. So D'Angelo Jordan is a future top 3 pick, and he's going to take the Big Ten by storm this year. Chicago native. Going to do the Jordan last name some grace. So I'm very in on him. Second, I'm going to go with Michigan. Big shot Bog. Did not play very well as a freshman. It's him and Lorenzo Phenom now. A throwback to the bad boys days. No Pizarski. And it's like them, and that's really it. They don't have depth besides like Carlos Buffini and Sincere Coomer, but Dusty May, man. Oh, and they brought in Jax Jackson and D'Adrian Hilario. So the local recruiting for U of M, Jax Jackson is a good is a nice shooter. Hilario, nice shot creator. So they needed that shot creating. You lose a guy like Pizarski, you're going to start playing through the perimeter game more. I like that for Michigan. Then third, we're going to go the school that I graduated from, the Michigan State Spartans. Jai Edge, back, that elite scorer. Even with Jadrian Elliott not being back, it's okay. Caden Randolph, Jai Edge, Malcolm Chamberlain all back. Shamar Ward will step into the starting lineup, replacing Elia for Michigan State. I don't see a way this team isn't top 3 in the Big Ten, and doesn't. I don't see a way this Hoops stereo streak doesn't live on for Tom Izzo, because he's just that good of a coach. Coach Drayton, I know what you're thinking right now. I'm just going to tell you to zip it now. And fourth in this conference, I'll go with Purdue, because Pierre DuPont is back, and I really like the addition of Dexter Jackson. Or maybe I'm confusing them with Tennessee, but if I remember correctly, I don't think I am, and I'm not. Pierre DuPont 16-7 as a freshman. Darius Player's back, and Dexter Jackson's coming in. I like Matt Painter's squad. They have a 7-footer and Ian Krimmer, so this is a very vintage Purdue squad, and they still got Majere Williams. So Purdue 4th, MSU 3rd, Michigan 2nd, Illinois 1st in the Big Ten. Moving on to the Mountain West, there's only 8 teams in this conference, so no Caden Shipp. Gonzaga wins, Damian Luffy. And the other schools I'm looking at, UNLV with Jarrell Bochchamp, San Diego State with my man Benjamin Alexander. Spoke to him earlier this week. Really like that squad with their depth. And St. Mary's. The other squads here, don't move me. No Ireland early for New Mexico, and even no Nat Hawkins for UNLV. Big losses, but the rest of the squads in this conference don't really move me. It's going to be Gonzaga first, UNLV, St. Mary's, San Diego State, in that order. And 2 conferences left, folks. I promise we will have a guest on next week. I know it's not as fun as listening to me just ramble on, but thank you for sticking with me. Topping the Pac-12, I'm going to go Arizona. They are deeper than UCLA, who just lost their 2 best players to the SWBA. Emilio Torres, Corey Yams, Theophilus Hilton, Khalil Erickson, Zane Davis even. And Tommy Lloyd has a lot to prove entering the season. They reached the grade 8, Arizona, and I don't think enough people are talking about them because all of that attention on that team is going toward a guy like Corey Yams. But they're incredibly deep. Second, UCLA, even no Snow, no Carroll. They're fine. They bring in Koya Monroe and Jordan Bamford, and they retain most of that championship squad otherwise. And there's some guys I like here. You got Blaine Kidd, you got Evangelos Mullins, you got J.J. Ortega, Franklin Tyson, Edmund Nesbitt. And then you bring in Wilson Lamb with him too. This UCLA team, as Mick Crone is trying to go for 2 straight, I don't think they're going to have a Miami-like step back, but I think that they're definitely going to regress a bit, but still good enough for second in a weak conference. Third, USC, Gabe Pope, J-Mo, and there's still plenty that's kind of going on with this team. You still got Jackson McLean and Quintel Patterson, Anthony Sasser, Willard Krause is coming in, Renzo Webb Storm. Really liking this Trojan squad. And then fourth, I'm gonna go kind of weird with this one, and I'm gonna go with the Utah Utes. Jarni Johnson is just that good, and they have a lot of just nice depth pieces. They're a deeper bench. And long benches matter in SimWorld U. People forget that you might be having a short rotation in Hoopsteria, but having more guys at your disposal in that environment means your team's going to be less mentally tired, and that is incredibly important. And lastly, but certainly not least, the SEC. You should expect the top of this here. I'm going to go Alabama as the winner of this conference. Arkansas, I like a lot. Kentucky, I like, but they lost their 2 best players. But I think I know how this conference will go. Alabama's going to win it with their freshman trio of Kai Killens, Leonardo Fields, Almighty Soul. You still got Levin Cutler, DJ Childs, and Coco Bryce. Yep, it's wraps for the SEC. I think Missouri finished second, actually. Japheth Towns, Kalinick Jokic, and Emil Griffin. Straight up scary 3-person team, and they have plenty more than that. Dennis Gates is the best squad he's had during his time at Missouri, and I'm impressed with what this team has kind of done building this offseason. David Drayton's back, Keyshawn Burkhalter, and they brought in Deontay Hilaria, the other Hilaria brother, so... And Miguel Ruiz, 6'11", 235. So those are my top 2 in the conference. I like Georgia as a dark horse. Royce Anderson to take a step up. Orion Toomey. That's a dark horse squad. So is Mississippi State with Juan Visale and my supposed to guest for next week, Jackson Sutton. Third, Kentucky. Trey Truss, Adonis Knight. I trust that Kentucky, even losing their 2 big stars, will right the ship. And fourth, I'm going to go with a tie between Tennessee and South Carolina. Dre Pope comes in. This team made Hoopsteria last year. They have Rip Akira now and Charles Pinkard and a recruiting class of Joey Justins, and they still got Isaiah James and Keandre Baldridge. Joey Justins, Rip Akira coming in. This is a really good squad. And then Tennessee, Trey Turner's gone. They replace him with Azunda Mazaka. Can't see them getting worse. And I think Henrik Vekic, I think he'll get it together. So I have high expectations for them. Mississippi State's another one of my dark horses. And lastly, Ole Miss with Devontae Langford. I think Rebels can make some noise, and even Florida with Trey Willis. But Auburn without Barkley James, it's going to be uphill. It's going to be an uphill battle. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of the J-Rock Show. I'm your host, as always, JK, and I'll see you back next week with Jackson Sutton. Have a good week, everybody, and remember, SimWorld, the only place you can see the game, be the game.